Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, if you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more, your pursuit begins now. All right, welcome back to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin, and today we have Anthony Irby Jr. joining us. Anthony, and we want you to tell the audience about your journey growing up I know you grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and then you made your way to a JUCO, which is called Iowa Lakes in Iowa. Mm-hmm. And then you made also your way down to West Palm Beach, playing a little NAIA basketball at Northwood University, I believe it is. And then just tell us about some of those successes and challenges along your journey.
Of course. I first want to say it's a pleasure to be on your pod. I'm glad that God made our connection within our journey. And I'm just excited to be on. So it's a pleasure. It's an honor. Thank you for having me. A little bit about me. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin with my grandmother and grandpa, rest in peace, with my little brother. He's 1 year younger than me. And it was tough in Madison. The main thing that I did was spend a lot of time at the Boys and Girls Club or at Penn Park, where my first dream, my passion, I always say it was my first God/idol, was basketball. So I grew up playing basketball, and the reason why I attached to basketball was because I knew that my grandparents or my parents wouldn't be able to afford college. Nobody in my family has been to college, so I seen it as a way out. So I spent a lot of time with the fellas and playing ball and growing up. Now, my grandma and grandpa were Christians, and we did attend church, but I was a young kid back then that sat in the back and really didn't build a relationship, but I had morals and a foundation with my grandparents having it. So I knew about God, but I didn't have a relationship with God. So I will never forget, I always love to tell this story. So it was my middle school to freshman year, and it was game one my freshman year of high school. Now, I didn't know the difference between academics and ball. I just wanted to play ball and get talented and be able to make my parents and grandparents proud. So I got my first F, man. I got my first F. I was failing the class. We do a weekly progress report. So I had to sit out the first game of my freshman year. Ever since then, especially with ball being my idol, I knew the difference between academics and athletics. So I knew that grades had to be a part of that. So forward, how I got my scholarship for Iowa Lakes, it was an academic and athletic, and also same for my NAIA D2 in West Palm. So for anybody listening to the pod, it is very important that you combine the education with the sports, because sometimes you may not be as talented as the next person, but your grades could put you in a position to get a career and pursue your passion. So I'll never forget that. That was a lesson, also a blessing. And that's what I teach my kids to this day. So now I'm at Iowa Lakes, Estherville, Iowa. It was a struggle, Roger. It was really hard. I want to note that I didn't have a relationship with God, and a relationship with God would have helped me to make a lot of decisions, better decisions. And I ended up being in Iowa Lakes with very small town. It's called Estherville. Nothing to do. Everything was on one street. If you ever been to Iowa, Estherville, you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
do, yes.
Basketball was the key thing. So that's all we did. It was a great experience, but I got in a lot of trouble. Um, but I don't take anything for granted, and it was lessons in every situation that I had. But it was a lot of fun. I went there with my friend, and I went there for 2 years, and I then went to West Palm Beach, which was a little bit of my coach, but a lot of me. Again, the academics is what helped me to get the academic and have scholarship to play ball in Estherville, Iowa. I just wanted to go somewhere that I knew would be an opportunity for me to not only for myself, but for my family and my friends to be able to visit, to just show that you can get out of Madison, Wisconsin. So I really dialed down on the grades. I really did a lot of work and ended up being accepted to West Palm Beach, Iowa. And yeah, that was an experience. So now I'm down in West Palm Beach.
And what's the name of that school again in West Palm Beach?
West Palm Beach is Northwood University. It is now Kaiser University.
Kaiser. Tell us about, I also played college hoops, but tell us maybe some of the challenge or these expectations that made it challenging for you as being an athlete and then trying to keep up with the academics, because some people perceive, oh, this athlete is just here to play basketball. He's just going
Yeah,
to be helped through in academics. And
yeah, man. It's hard. It's really hard to balance because, like I tell people, it's key to get the foundation of grades being important, especially with playing sports, because you have a lot of distractions. It's a lot of things going on. And if you have the foundation going up into college, then you will be fine. But it's so much freedom in college. You make your own schedule. You make your own, you got the choice to go to class or not. You are out by yourself. For me, I was living under my grandma's roof, and I had structure and I had an alarm. And if I didn't wake up, my grandma screaming, "Hey, AJ, time to get up." I didn't have that in college. So, any accountability. And mind you, my family, I was down there by myself. My wife ended up coming after a few years after I graduated in AIA. But I was down there at the beginning and it was tough, but thank God for that moment that I had between eighth grade and freshman year where I knew that grades will also create opportunities for me. So, school part, I got the hang of it. I was one of those guys where you will always have your homework done and on time. Not the best test taker, but because I always had my homework in, I was able to get through and develop a bachelor degree. And my parents didn't have to come out of pocket, which is a blessing.
you think of that, we could have a whole nother conversation about just college athletics and just the
Yes.
expectations that go along with it, the pressure that goes along with it. But that's another conversation. Let's talk more about your journey after. Yeah, I know you lived in Palm Beach for a few years, and then
Mm-hmm.
your visit to Minnesota and how you met your future wife.
Yes. Amazing story. So I was out in West Palm Beach after college. All or athletic people, if they don't make it to the next level, which me and a lot of people dream was the NBA or the NFL or whatever that big level was. If they don't get to that point, then it's hard to figure out the next level or next step in their career that they want to do. So I'm out in West Palm with my wife and my 12-year-old daughter now. So we're out in West Palm, and it was just tough because me trying to figure out my next steps in life and trying to balance relationship, being a father, knowing what my career will be after. It was just it was tough. And we got to a point where it just started getting really expensive. West Palm is where a lot of people retire. We needed a restart. We needed a restart and we needed a village. Again, it was just us down there and not much help. So we ended up getting to Minnesota. Now, moving back to Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, reason I say Minnesota is because my wife is from Minnesota, but I have family in Minnesota. So this leads to my story of how I met my wife. So playing Iowa Lakes, I believe it was my first year of Northwood. Yep, playing at Northwood, it was a break in between. And I went to visit some family in Minnesota, and my mom was down there. So I went to hang out with my mom for the break. And she threw a barbecue, and my cousin ended up coming. A cousin I grew up with ended up coming. But she ended up bringing my beautiful wife, love at first sight, Ty. And I was just like, hey, cuz, who is this? Blah, blah, blah. Crazy because that's the first time she brought her around, but that was her best friend. But what's even crazier about the story is my cousin's mom and my mom are best friends. So my mom grew up around my wife. So they had a relationship outside of me. You know how some people struggle with, is my parents like her or is my parents going to like him? My mom already, I had the okay on that end because she knew her. So from then I got her number. I never lost it. And that's my wife. Yeah.
What an awesome
Yeah.
story. And here you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's move forward now share with us about your journey after marriage and your journey to Minnesota and some of the successes and challenges along the way.
Yes. Got engaged in West Palm. We got married in Minnesota. We went to Minnesota to just get back on pace, get some extra help. And we were staying with my mother-in-law. I was always that person, like, getting married won't change anything. It's just a title. And I was completely wrong. Getting married changed things, and it's more than just a title. So our first year, fortunately, we went through a separation while we were in Minnesota. Marriage is very challenging, and what happened was a lot of things that I struggled with growing up, as far as, and I apologize to this day, and my actions is what keeps us healthy and married. But I struggled with people pleasing. I struggled with comparison. I struggled with cheating. I struggled with lying, manipulating. I struggled with that throughout our relationship, and it all came at once. And she had a front row seat to it. So that all led up to our separation. Mind you, she ended up leaving, and I stayed until I had to figure things out. And so I didn't have my wife, I didn't have my daughter, and mind you, I didn't have my idol slash God basketball because I tore my MCL. So it was probably rock bottom. It was rock bottom for me. And mind you, I didn't have a relationship with God. I knew God, but I didn't have a relationship with God. So it was just a really hard time. My thoughts were all over the place. I didn't know what to do, man. I didn't know what to do. Yeah, I just got down from what I knew about God, down and prayed. Nothing changed, but I prayed. And for some reason, a couple days later, my auntie ended up sending me a sermon of T.D. Jakes. And mind you, I didn't watch sermons. I wasn't going to church. Sent me a sermon of T.D. Jakes. I watched the whole sermon, and it ignited God in me. God completely showed up. From there, It was a sermon a day, and it was building my relationship with God. Throughout the separation, I connected with God, and He showed me the light at the end of the tunnel. He really had me put in self work, reflect how I got to this position, and He brought my wife back in my life, which was all God. So the separation didn't only help me, it helped my wife, and she was able to forgive, and we were able to progress and work forward to it. So now she's back. God brought her back in my life, and we're working through it. Now I have a relationship with God, and now I have an accountability for things that I need to work on, which I would say is a Holy Spirit. I now have somebody in my conscience that don't say that. That's not right. She forgave you. Show by actions that you are thankful. So we're there. But everything doesn't happen just quick. We had just a tough night where we got in a big argument and we ended up being kicked out of my mother-in-law house. And that was a big moment for us, a huge moment. So I'll never forget, we were sitting in the car, the Jeep. I had a Jeep, all stuff packed out. Mother-in-law said, we got to figure it out. We have to be out her house the next day. She ended up leaving, being in a hotel, and was like, we got to figure it out. So me, my wife, my daughter, with the car packed out with what we can take, we're outside of the parking lot. I'll never forget, we both looked at each other and we said, it's us, it's God, it's us, and it's church. Going forward, we will find a church. Going forward, God will run this relationship, and we're going to take it from there. So that's what we found. We literally, while we sat outside the house, we found River Valley. And I believe it was on a Saturday. So next day we were at River Valley, which is the church in Egan. So we committed to that. But mind you, homeless. I still had a job, thank God, but we were homeless. So for a couple weeks, me, my daughter, and wife were figuring things out during the day to entertain our daughter. We were going to museums, just going to free stuff, and we were staying in at-home places, the little hotels where it's just at home and you pay per day type of thing. So for 2 to 3 weeks. But mind you, we were consistently going to River Valley, and God was there. We were greeted by the campus pastor at the moment, and he just embraced us with love, and we knew that was the place. So we developed a community, and we were consistent. So transitioning from there, we consistently going to church, and we get to the third week, which we are now completely cashed out. We have nothing, Roger. I mean, nothing. We can't afford another stay there. We didn't want to hit up my mother-in-law to go back because of the situation that happened. It really was another rock bottom moment. And we were both, let's go to church. And this is the first time we were like, let's get prayer. Afterwards, we got prayer and we communicated with our prayer people and told them we don't know after this what's going to happen. And they prayed for us. I don't want to, I want to go back a little bit and make sure that I put this key moment in. So, second week of being at River Valley, I gave my life to Christ. And the first thing that Christ asked me to do, gave my life to Jesus, first thing he asked me to do is tithe. And you know the controversy behind tithing. And plus, I didn't have the money to tithe. I didn't have anything. But it is key that you also discuss with your partner. And equally yoked is important. She, as me, she believed in me, and as me being a leader, in that moment, we were on the same page. And she said, if that's what God is telling you to do, with what we have, we will do that. So we tithe consistently while we were homeless, which sounds even crazy to say, but that's what faith is. That's what faith is, and this was all a faith journey. So we consistently tithe even though we did not have it. We got prayer because we're cashed out, going on 3 weeks of being homeless, just trying to figure it out. And we got prayer. And I will never forget, we decided to go out to eat just because we just want to be together as a family. We didn't have it, but it was what it was. Mind you, we applied for over 10 apartments. These not houses, these are apartments, Roger. Apartments. Denied. We could not get in an apartment. We were sitting at a pizza place. I think it's called Old Chicago in Eden Prairie. I'll make sure I come back and let you know. But we were sitting there. We went out to eat after church. Got prayer for, and I'll never forget the glow on my wife's face when she got a call. She got a call during it. We were sitting at a booth. She got a call. Her face blew up, and we were like, "What's up?" Me and my daughter, like, "What's going on? What's up? What's going on?" And we got accepted for an apartment. But what's even crazier, come and get the keys. It's ready. Come and get the keys. Sign some paper. You don't need, you don't need to make your payment. We can schedule that and you're good. Important to know that my daughter was a part of this process. So she also, whether it's a young age or not, she was also able to see the faith of us and what God can do if you truly put your life in his hands. So, huge moment. So after we ate, we enjoyed our food, we ate, still in the vehicle, and we got the keys, signed the papers, and I'll never forget that apartment. So many memories, so many moments. And yeah, that was another huge God moment. Continue to be at the church. We developed great relationships. I met you there, Roger, leaning to
Amen,
today.
brother.
Yep, got baptized together. And God has just been the one to be the top of our relationship. And he has just been amazing. And yeah, that's the story.
That's an amazing story. God works in amazing ways.
Correct.
Quick question for you about advice. What is the best advice that has ever been given to you? Why was it? And who gave it to you?
The best advice that has been given to me, we got to put God first. It was given to me at a really young age. It was given to me by my grandfather. And I didn't understand back then. But now, as I grew up without God and with God, and I see the difference, that is the best advice I can give somebody and somebody could give me. And that's in everything, Roger. Putting God first in everything is pursuing a relationship. Being consistent at a church, building that community is key. Your relationship with God, finding time to get your devotionals in, finding time to seek God consistently, reading your Bible, but also building up the Holy Spirit in you, the Spirit in you that will win the flesh battles that we go through daily. We go through flesh battles daily where we have to make a decision whether we're going to react our feelings and how we feel rather than letting the Spirit do the upside down kingdom. So yes, that is the best advice that I received and that I will give anybody, because I live through that today. I tell my daughter every morning, you do your devotional. We got to put God first. I communicate with my wife. You get your prayer today. You do them. Everybody knows I got a group text with my family. I send them a devotional daily with a note of what God spoke to me, because now what he has done in my life, I would like the people around me to give me testimonies of what he done for them. And I have received some, and I'm hoping for much, much more.
You mentioned about your grandparents, but
Mm-hmm.
they were influential in your life? Who are some other people that from your past or present that have really made an impact on you?
I would say for sure, because she was somebody who was a church kid.
And who was that again? I didn't quite hear that.
Wife Micaiah.
Oh, your wife. Okay, Micaiah. Okay.
Yes, she was a church kid, and she strayed away from church and her faith to be led and come back and where she is today, and her self-work and everything that she did was very influential and encouraging. Um, Also, my brother, my younger brother, Denny Love, he was very influential in seeing his journey, because he is in the acting field, in the comedian field, seeing his journey and his relationship with God and being able to be in that atmosphere and still being able to hold his head and put God first is also somebody who's super influencing to me. My coaches, shout out to every coach that has coached me. Coaching is a big deal. I am a kid that mom and dad was in and out my life. My grandmother had a stable home, but they are leaders. They are huge leaders, and you can really help a kid throughout life and teach them lessons. It's not all just about sports. It's also about advice on life when it comes to basketball, any athletic sport. For me, it was basketball. Shout out to all my coaches that were there for me. I still have a relationship with one of my coaches, Coach Heaves, who reached out to me, who's just doing life with me, who prays for me. And yeah, I just want to make sure, if you have that position and you're coaching kids, that you really take that serious, because you never know what's going on in a kid's life, in their family life, and they need a figure. It could be a father figure, it could be a friend, they need a figure that is displaying good leadership skills.
I love that.
Yeah.
You just have such wisdom, Anthony. And real just briefly, tell us about any kind of like your most personal or professional growth in your life and what caused that growth. That I know you talked about your spiritual journeys.
Yes, personal growth, people, family, friends, and my kids, people around me. What will I leave for them? How am I living today, every day, that displays a way that my kids and family and friends can look up to me as an example? That's really key to me and my personal growth, but that comes with my devotion to God. I've gotten to the point where I can't wake up without connecting with God. I can't not put God first. Yeah, that relationship, that personal growth is all based off of my relationship with God, to be honest. And he has sustained me to today. Now, I'm not perfect, but I'm progressing. I still make mistakes. I still have reactions, but my core is my core. And that is what leads me today. So my personal growth is based off of building my relationship with God, praying, finding that community, consistently going to church, if not having church online at home, making sure my kids are around it. All that God is doing through me, I want to persuade that to the people that I'm around. Yes, that is the personal growth. and it's a daily attention to it.
And then I know also on social media, you started Faith Chasers.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just briefly, we only have a few minutes, but maybe briefly just talk about that in about 30 seconds, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Yeah. Faith Chasers is just a dope platform that has grown. God has done work on that. It has grown to over 50K followers on IG.
Amen.
And it's just, my devotion was to a sermon a day. So I thought that I can share that with the people by recording clips and posting it. That may be something that somebody needs for that day. So check it out. Really dope messages from it. And hopefully it's something that can encourage you for that day. But yeah, I love it. I love to see what God's doing. And it's easy because it's something that is attached to what I'm doing daily. So yeah.
All right, let's get right to the final thoughts that you want to leave with men as they continue on their journey, personally or professionally or both.
Of course. Men, you are leaders. You need God. The foundation of God is key. We have a lot of roles as men in between being a husband, if you are, between your development as yourself. We are the key. We are the key to the kingdom. And I give advice to every man that it will be hard, but put God first, get your devotional in, and live a life knowing that your first answer is through spirit, not flesh. And I want to give a shout out to every man who is putting God first, and every man who maybe is struggling in that field, but there is always hope. And we are called to be leaders, and you are a leader. And let's not be our own God. We struggle through our life because we want to be our own God. Have faith, let God work that situation, and you will gain peace. We are the game changers. Men are the game changers. Men are leaders, and do it with God. Do it with God. Give him a chance. Watch him work, and just let your life be peaceful with him rather than without.
Anthony, you have amazing wisdom, and I'm looking forward for others to hear, other men to hear your story. And before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you?
You guys can find me. I'm an IG guy. So guys, my page, Faith Chasers 3. You can find me at BORNREADYIRBY on IG. I'm also on Facebook, Anthony Irby Jr. You can find me there. But yeah, more to come. Keep tuning in. And hey, it was an honor. Thank you so much. And hope that we can reconnect again.
Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at maupincoaching.com.